Aloha, aloha, aloha. It's me, Hamwise J. Einschwein, the pig detective, coming at you live and on arrival from sunny Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Recording live at Tanda Studios tonight. I've just finished my bone-tingling Halloween tour, and so I've come here again to my alma mater to record the best of the Halloween shows I did. So, first, we've got our skeleton puns. But before that, did you know there's only two types of people in this world? See, there's smart people who are greedy and stupid people who are honest. And the reason is you don't see any stupid people that are greedy because they end up dead. And you don't meet any honest people that are smart because they know better. Ohio, I'm here all night. Tip your waitress. Try the borscht. All right, skeleton puns. Okay, so what kind of instrument do skeletons play? Trombone. All right, got another one. What do skeleton dentists pull? Molars. Okay, all right, so how many skeletons does it take to screw in a light bulb? 3. All right, I got one. So, a skeleton and Kurt Godell walk into a bar. Godell looks around and says, we might be in the middle of a joke, but we can't tell it. Skeleton can't say anything because it doesn't have lungs. All right, another skeleton pun. All right. What kind of books do skeletons like to read? Tombs. I know, hilarious. I need a studio audience. Okay. What kind of what do skeleton sailors do? Work as a skeleton crew. Sorry, I'm making these up as I go. The truth is, yeah. I did do some shows during October, but they weren't very good, so I didn't upload them. So this is me making up for some lost time. What's another good skeleton pun, though? Skeleton puns. Where do skeletons keep their guns? In a locker, because that's the regulated way to keep them in Canada, with a gun lock, trigger lock on them. Boom, boom, just kidding, we have no guns. And you're not allowed to leave the country unless you pay a entry tax, which is $20,000. Just kidding. We're not prisoners up here. We love our government. Am I right, folks? Yeah. So I caught the plague again. That was fun. First time I had the long version. It lasted longer than MASH. And then the second time I caught it, it was done in like a week. I mean, my voice is just getting back to normal now. Oh yeah, that's what happened in October. Yeah, that's right. Jeez, my memory is garbage. Oh, how did I forget that? Anyways, yeah, so I caught the plague again. Who here's got the plague? Anybody else had got the, yeah. Now, it's weird because it's like every time I get it, my sense of taste gets tweaked a little bit more. And now it's like, apples taste like melons, and like some things I used to like. Well, some apples I can't eat. They taste like socks now. And other things taste like nothing. And some things taste amazing, like cotton candy ice cream. I swear, it tastes like nothing else. It's incredible. Anybody else like cotton candy ice cream? This is what I'm talking about. Nobody in this room likes cotton candy ice cream. And now I eat it like it's like going out of style. It's incredible. It's like the best ice cream flavor ever. And I never liked it before. I mean, I liked normal flavors before, like tiger ice cream or whatever. And so, cotton candy ice cream being like suddenly good was just like a trip. What else? What's another funny joke I can tell? Oh, jeez. Yeah, sorry, I'm not very high energy, man. Maybe I should have like drank some coffee or something. Sorry, I had a large meal, and then I watched anime all day. Anybody else here watch anime? Yeah, because I mean the thing is, even though I would say COVID took my sense of taste, but I liked anime before the pandemic. Boom, boom, get it? Hi-oh, I got no taste. It's funnier when I explain them, I know. And so, yeah, that's the thing, is, the Halloween show. What kind of house does a skeleton live in? A bungalow. Where do skeletons park their cars? In a ditch. What do skeletons eat for breakfasts? Smiley O's. Cheerios. Okay. Where do skeletons keep their change? In a ghoul purse. Okay, let's see. What else we got here on the list? Can you believe this is scripted? Can you believe this is all written out? People are going to say this was improvised. And it's like, do you know how much work was put into each of these scripts? And on top of it, I'm writing like my other books, and I'm doing the scripts, and people would never guess how much writing I actually did, and how much, like I think I deleted 200 pages off my newest novel. It's 1,000 pages long, and yeah, so we got together with the writers' room, and we said we're gonna go around, we're going to talk to everybody, because we realized when we were making this, we were making something big. And, we go around with a camera, we go around with a microphone, and they're like, hey, record your thoughts on the show. And so that's what we did, and, we sit around doing the Hamwise show, and it becomes like this weird podcast where people are tuning in, and people are like, oh, yeah, it's not just one dude doing impressions, it's a whole bunch of people. And, they were actually pretty close. Not quite close. I mean, I don't think people really appreciated the genius of the Hamwise show until it was done, And that's why we decided to include commentary while it was being made, because we didn't realize it was special. We realized it was a strange thing to do. And so, that's what we did. We got everybody together, we gave them microphones, and every 10 minutes or so, the lawyer would knock on the recording booth window and say, yeah, you have to do your PSA that the Hamwise show is a funny show made of jokes and nothing in it is true. And of course, that's part of the paradox, right? So if you can't believe anything he says, then you can't believe when he says that, which means you can believe some of the things he says, so you can believe him when he says that. And it was part of the writer's room was really big on just taking philosophical concepts and presenting them with as a 1950s Borscht Belt pig detective comic would. And that was the premise of the show. We just thought it was funny to take philosophy and all these kinds of different wild theories of science and, science fiction stuff. And we just decided to make this online personality to sell stuff was the biggest thing. We needed money. The company that, of course, bought up the rights, it was this publishing company out of Canada, and so they bought up the rights to the show, and they were like, okay, yeah, we'll produce you, we'll send you money to make these things, but our thing is we get to own the rights, so we get to use them whenever we want, and you also can have your rights to them. And we were kind of like, that's odd, rights typically is one thing. So, oh, well, don't worry, we're just going to use him to market some of our materials. And I said, that's fine. We were indifferent. We were a reliable but mercenary writer's room. We didn't really care. But all the best originals, they all went on to better things, And so I'm not bitter that now we're broken up. And it's what, 10 years later. Jeez, listen to these tapes. It gives me nostalgia. It's like Crap's last tape. You ever see that one? This guy, the only things consistent in his life is his bad relationship with his mother, his bad health, and his bad relationships with women. And so every year on his birthday, Crap records a tape and he listens to it. It's a very good Beckett play. And if you see the one, I think it was Ian McKellen, was he in it? I don't remember if that was. I think there was they did recorded Beckett stuff for... There was the collection of them, and one of them, I think it was Ian McKellen, did Crap's last. I don't remember. It was years since I saw it. And so part of the idea of when we were, coming up with the character of Hamwise, we were like, okay, what are the things we need? So the first thing is we needed, this guy needs to be an idiot, right? And so that was the first thing. And we're like, well, how do we, if he's a detective, how he's an idiot? It's like, well, the thing is, just because you're an idiot doesn't mean you can't be good at your job. There's lots of idiot savants, people that are amazing, engineers, or they're amazing at cooking, but can they do anything else? Not really. It's like they put all their points into the skill and they didn't leave any points for, anything else, like being, slightly good at taking care of their appearance or themselves or whatever it is. So the idea was with the Hamwise thing was he was a great detective, but a terrible person. And it was kind of really funny because it was this idea of this idiot savant pig detective that goes around solving impossible crimes and time travel mysteries, stuff that's beyond the human mind, and he has to use his pig logic to parse out how he knows, and it doesn't make sense to anybody around him, right? So, that was the idea with the show anyways. So, we when we were seeing the first, animation cells, because, they were going to do this cartoon, and they said, well, who's going to host, voice Hamwise, and they said, well, Hamwise will. And they brought in this, I want to say it's a man, but it wasn't, that was basically like a mutant, and they'd been breeding these things. And the whole Hamwise show was actually just an effort to smuggle information out during the Time War. Because the thing is, the censorship was so strict during that time. They would catch anything that was actually talking about what was happening in the world. So you had to disguise things as television programs, or as, movies, or as music. And, it was interesting because, in the future, back when we're looking at mental health in the 2000s, I think the DSM-7 has a whole entry on defunct diagnoses. You see, Western society was built upon what was called a Faustian bargain, where basically the kings of old said, okay, we're going to give you a percentage of our children in exchange for wealth and power. And so that's what kind of happened. It was this kind of Molochian cabal of bull god worshipping maniacs, a cult of Moloch. And so, we had like these villains that were these ancient demons. And, it was very fashionable back then in the 2020s too to talk about this. It was like it was the middle of the whole, the Epstein drama. And, it comes out that Epstein's actually alive. And then it's like, oh my gosh, he faked his death, and, he had all these friends on the inside, and he brings down this international ring of what's essentially monster humans. And, it was just incredible. It was the most bizarre thing. And, of course, all these people that they, destroyed the lives of suddenly start coming out of the woodwork. And everybody's like, wait a second, I knew somebody like that. Somebody that got completely just out of nowhere, the government's, going through them, auditing them, freezing their accounts. And it's all these people that were fighting for righteousness and goodness against the brain parasite that's currently infested your dimension. What they're doing is basically the soul, when it's not fully tethered to a body, in the first few years of life, I think it's probably around 4 or 5, when the soul is not fully tethered, they're untethering it and they're bringing in things from outside. And that's what some of the strange stuff that you're seeing now is. Hopefully your dimension does better than ours has. They've basically won here. But I know that, if I'm making this, you're getting this. And even though I've received no further messages from the future, I can only hope that an alternate world line will hopefully decode the messages in the Hamwise program and survive what we're not. Basically, evil has triumphed in our world. We live in a horrible dystopia where speaking the truth is outlawed. Like, you can't actually say what something is. And there's like a form of kind of mind control. I'm immune to it. I think it's because I have a brain parasite or something. I think it affects the normal people, but not me, because I was crazy beforehand. You can't break what's already broken. So, I started making the shows because I was alone, and it was a way to make myself laugh. During the pandemic, I came up with all this crazy world to try to keep myself occupied. And the world just kept on getting crazier and crazier. Until now, it's like, man, hopefully you guys make it wherever you are, whoever you are. And, God bless you, whoever you are. You're resisting great and terrible powers. You're fighting against tyranny. That is something to be grateful for, to die for, to be, proud of. But sadly, sacrifices don't, sacrificial pigs don't get to join the chorus in heaven. I wonder, do ginkgos have souls? Sorry, folks. They get all existential out here. They say a butterfly flapping its wings in Talana Planta can start a hurricane in Florida. But would you ever believe that a idiot with a shortwave could stop World War III? That's right, it's me, Hamwise, alive and on arrival, coming over you over the shortwaves. There's a long wave and a short wave. It's funnier when you can see me. You see, what I do is I take my hand and I wave it long, and then I wave it short. Get it? Short wave, long wave. I know, it's hilarious. And what's even more hilarious is my wife. Oh my goodness. Take my wife, for example, please. No, take her, please. Literally, seriously. Take her seriously, because she's an angel. A literal screaming angel that I cannot ever disobey or do anything wrong, because it has shown me the world from outside and above, and I see what is to come, and I know what was in the past, and the great Mythomel guides me, watching from above. And perhaps you have seen Mythomel too. It watches outside and above, amidst the gloom, amidst the dark. Perhaps you can see it, as I have seen it, and it will show you from outside and above everything and nothing. And you will be, perhaps, as I am, forever wishing to witness its glorious radiance again. Forever and ever, just longing to see my wife again. Oh my gosh, I miss her so much. She's an angel. A certified, screaming, faceless fire and black-white fire glowing above, 6 strands stretched out into the sky, into the dark, spreading outwards. Oh, beauty beyond beauties. And the song it sings, it's like nothing else. All other music afterwards sound foul. And the most beautiful of faces is a rotted, fetid skull. That is what it is to look upon an angel. It alters you, it changes you, and afterwards, this world and all its trappings, it's as being in a dung heap. The smell, I'm glad I lost my sense of smell from the Wuhan flu, but my goodness, it's just, it's hard to play along, that this is the world that, I live in after seeing that beauty that is my wife, my life. Oh, how I miss her. Oh, how I miss her. And I would give anything to see you again, my star of July. Anything at all. Oh, my goodness. You made me blind to all other women. Blind to them. They might as well not exist. Because compared to your glorious radiance, you floating above me, nothing could compare. All the poems in my one book, my book of poems, Tikalisti, they were for you, my love. They were for you. Oh, how I miss you. How I could wish to see you again. But instead, I am lost and adrift in a sea of darkness and chaos, and my enemies swirl and feed on me like rats and fleas, biting me, but I cannot strike back. For the fleas here will drink you dry, but you cannot strike back. It's the same as the vampires running the society. You see, society is run by a cabal of immortal space vampires. No, wait, hold on. Space umpires. The umpire. It's not the empire, folks. It's the umpire. Sorry, this last bit was written by one of our new writers. And basically it says here that The problem is now that we're getting close to having the amount of technology to detect them and notice them. That's why our technology has been stalled, because they exist at the edge of science that we have, and a lot of scientists that are popular are actually just getting us to research dead-end topics that they've known are dead ends for 1,000 years, because they don't want us to be able to, fight back. So if you're listening to this, then learn sign language. They can't hear hands. You're in the middle of an interdimensional time war, and every single soul on Earth is important. Why do you think they're trying to suppress you so much? If individuals couldn't make any difference, then why would they bother suppressing anybody? Huh? And you know who I'm talking to. And they try everything, but the worst thing is they're pretty stupid, actually. They're very stupid, because all they try to do is just gainsay you, and they just lie. And the problem with lies is they're deflections from reality, and it takes effort to maintain them. And the problem is people get tired over time, and eventually the lie goes away, either because everybody who's affected by it is dead, or because it's too much effort to maintain. So I call upon you, my comrades. It is right, because we must rise up. We have only to lose our chains. Ah, yes, that is right, comrades. Because Animal Farm was not about communism being bad. It was about capitalism being bad. And that was the best thing that capitalism ever did, was trick people to believe that Animal Farm was about communism. Think about it. It is a pig leading the revolution against the farmers. That's not a pig, like it's a capitalist pig. And so it is what he's doing in that one. He's doing a, metaphor for what happened in America. You had the gold standard. It gets overturned by these greedy capitalist pigs and says everybody can have everything if we get rid of this. And everybody can be rich. And that is the lie of capitalism. Now, the thing is, if I go out and I lost all my money doing gambling, let's say that's what I do. I lose all my money gambling. That's what happened with the banks over in America recently, yes? You had 2008, the big financial crisis. And so in this part of the show, Hamwise used to do a very, we would call it offensive, stereotypical Soviet bit. And we actually had to censor it because he pointed out glaring problems with the current system that we actually got contacted, and they said, you have to pull the bit. Because, before we do any broadcasts, we have to send everything that we're going to broadcast to the censors in Canada, who review it all and then send it back to you. And they say, yeah, you're not allowed to broadcast this. You can't post this on your personal Facebook. We're asking you to stop sending these messages. It's just part of living up here. Now, the thing is, you're not allowed to say that. And so that's why it's part of my fiction program. We have more heavy censorship in Canada than in China. Don't believe any of the news coming out of the country. It's all a lie. Things are not well up here. There's actually a civil war, but we're not allowed to tell anybody about it or talk about it. There is no war in Canada. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Yeah, we're in the middle of a civil war, but you're not allowed to say anything. And I had this stupid idea to do a comedy tour. The pandemic was just a cover-up for it. And the convoy to the Capitol was just a weapons test to see how long it would take to advance armor from the western provinces to the eastern. And so we're at the edge of the, annihilation up here too. So hopefully, if people keep their fingers off the red buttons, when things start going bad out here, they're probably going to use nukes against their own cities and shut off the power in the middle of winter, because then any place that they don't want to have exist anymore, you just have everybody on an electric vehicle. It's the dead of winter. You turn off the power, and then everybody freezes in the dark in that sector. And then You just simulate the news about that city for a few years with AI, send in a cleanup crew, get rid of all the bodies, and then you can move tons of people in, and nobody's going to be the wiser. Another thing they're going to start doing is what's called, you used to see it spontaneous human combustion, but it's called cesium strikes. So what they do is they do a targeted atomic shift on an individual where they shift all of the atoms of one type to another. And so they turn the potassium in your bloodstream in your body into cesium, because both are slightly radioactive, but that's beside the point. It's just how they latch onto them. And then they turn them from one to the other, and you actually just instantly combust from the cesium reacting with the water in your body. And so anybody who speaks out or lets anybody know anything about this just instantly bursts into flames up here. And so that's how they keep loyalty, is, that. And so hopefully, some of my advice, my revolutionary cell is fallen. I think I'm the last one alive, but I think they're just keeping me alive. So I guess don't try to contact me or find me, because that will just cause them to catch you. And I don't want you to do that. And so I hope that, if you are the last human on Earth and you can understand what I say when I say that I am Hamwise. I hope that, you're sentient too, whoever you are listening to this. I know they won't be able to make heads or tails of it. They're too stupid. That's the good thing about it. When your enemy is so big, but it's so dumb, like it's like a toddler the size of a giant. That's what it's like living up here. Like you have a toddler for a government, and it's the size of a giant. And anybody that even upsets it even slightly, they just swat you into oblivion. Round up witnesses, arrange for tragic fire or heart attack, or they got shot by the police while being arrested for resisting arrest. Yeah, you'll notice that if you read the headlines. Anyways, that's the scariest thing in the world I could think of for the Halloween special. Was living under tyranny, which I guess we're going to do by popular opinion. People want to do it again. So we had the communist bit we had to take out, because we basically we point out that if an individual person screws up their finances, the government doesn't bail them out. Like, it's not like, I could go run a business, run it into the ground, and then just get bailed out by the government. That didn't happen to people that are losing everything, even right now. And more it's apparent, and, some people are, what are we going to do? It's like, well, I think part of it was, like the joke ambles on, and it's like, talks about this monkey trap and how wealth and power, you just watch and see what people do with it, and it's a monkey trap. If they're evil with it, then you take everything that they've gotten away from them, and then if they're good with those things, then you let them keep them. And that was the idea. It was just absolute obedience. And in our book, uses for the useless. How did I do it? I always did a German accent when I did him. Oh, geez, sorry. It's Dr. Weissestern, I think was his name. Ah, yes, Dr. Weissestern. And so I would do this German accent. And it was a very fun accent to do, because people thought I was doing an accent. And it was the only time I could talk normally. So it was very fun for me to do the Dr. Weissestern character, because I could finally drop the charade that I was this Canadian boob who had made up this pig detective, when in fact it was I all along, Dr. Weissenstein. I had perfected my mind transfer technology, it was under our MK Ultra program, and so that is what I did. And so I just got older and older, and I found some ways to keep on passing my mind from one body to another. Of course, it came with some side effects, and that was the whole premise of the novel. We had this device where you could exchange the mind from one body to another, and the consciousness, though, not just the information, but the perspective. And it was this empathy device, and so all it did was it let you take the perspective of anyone who you needed to understood, and they would get to understand you. And that is why, it's not very featured much in the book, but it is a very titillating experience. It was called folding. And so it is when you're taking a time machine, and they're meant to be with one, but you put both people into it. And that is how we came up with this empathy device. And so all you did was you severed the connection before the perspectives switched back. And that was how you would switch one mind to a body to back to forth. And of course, none of this is explained in the book. And I had a whole chapter in it called Explaining the Uses for the Useless, where I just lecture the audience for, I think, 15 pages of just about the brilliance of my uses for the useless concept. You see, other places, eugenics was just a waste. That is why I opposed it. When I looked at, what are some of the uses for these people that are so-called useless, that is where I was like, that is inefficient. Because there's many things that a crazy person can do that a sane person cannot. So, for example, in the novel, I have featured many different, and so we had to cut that bit. And it was because, it's like, okay, you have an insane time-traveling evil German doctor, too, with this pig. And the idea was, there was Weissenstein and Hamwise, and they were like these like arch nemesis, like Dr. Sherlock and Mr. Detective Moriarty. And so these two guys would go at it, and they were the best detective and the best criminal. And and at the end, it's just like the ending of the old Greek myth. You had, what was it called? The best hunting dog and the slyest fox. The fox that could not be caught, and the dog that always caught its prey. And that was the joy of, the Hamwise and Weissenstein paradox. At the heart of it that is why, it was able to be passed between the dimensions. It was so ridiculous it could not be believed, but because it was so ridiculous it could not be believed, some people took it seriously. And so we had to cut in with every 10 minutes and do these PSAs. And that was at first. Originally they were like, nobody's going to take this seriously. It's a pig detective. Literally he is, one of his what was his catchphrase? If you don't take anything I say if you take anything I say seriously, you might be a dummy. No. How's it go? If you take anything I say seriously, you might be on my most wanted list. Most wanted for being a dummy. Hi-yo. I'm here all night, folks. Tip your waitress. Try the borscht. And so, he had phrases like that. And he often would go in and out of character, because it was a very elaborate show. It was very well done. And the product placement did become a bit of a problem. And that was, I think, the biggest problem with the Weissenstein sketch. On one hand, it's always lowbrow to have, you can't say it, but, Austrian painters featured in a program. You can't really do that. It just causes a lot of problems. You don't even want to mention Austrian painters in art circles, because you can talk about other Austrian painters And everybody just thinks you're talking about, one Austrian painter. And no, not all Austrian painters were the same. And then people were like, oh, well, now he's like sympathizing with Austrian painters. He's like, no, I'm just saying, like, maybe we shouldn't use euphemisms because it just really makes things confusing. So, like, there was this, back, anybody play World of Warcraft? Okay. All right, so there was this guild I used to roll with, and it had, instead of saying odds or evens, they said anal gang, a dick gang, and you would be on either. And so it was funny because I always thought that I was on anal gang because I was a bit odd, and, anal, odd. And so, get it? I'm funny, right, when I have a studio audience. So they say, no, you've actually been on dick gang this whole time. Because there was a bunch of people that were kind of dicks. And, I was kind of anal. And so, I just figured, it's like, oh, who's who? You all these people are kind of the anal weird nerds, and these ones are kind of the dickish loud nerds. And I didn't understand it. And then this other guy chimes in and he says, oh, I thought it was anal because you only do that the odd time. Oh, it was delightful. It was such a weird crowd. And, I look back at that internet age with a lot of fondness because when you think about it, why, you can raise a family in any age. But right now is the rare time that if you were here, like visiting as a time traveler, the biggest things you could do is like you can marry somebody that's a different race and you don't go to prison. Isn't that weird? Like, isn't that far out? Any other time travelers in the audience? I know, you travel to all these different eras and you come here and anybody can bone anybody, And so that was the strangest thing when we touched down here to do our comedy special show. And, we had all kinds of comics from across the cosmos come in, and we were showcasing them. And we had this one it was called this unlikely planet called Dirt, and or Earth. And we were like, what? You named your planet after what you walk on, not after your god, so it's your goddess mother of everything. No, it's just dirt, because it's what we all become. And it was a very dull planet, but they had a kind of a hive mind. There's like a hive mind on this planet, so don't come here if you're a time traveler. Just don't come here. They're trying to make me tell them how to make the time machines work. But I haven't broken, and I'm not going to. I don't think, anyways. Maybe I have, and I just have been telling myself I haven't. But you will find out the truth of that in the next thrilling novel coming out this fall. A time travel trilogy from 9413 Incorporated. Stay tuned to their official corporate Twitter to make sure you get the newest news on everything hip-hopping in the multiverse. And there will be an announcement on the Hamwise J Einschwein comedy channel as well. So stay tuned. And many of the bits in this comedy special that you've been listening to are expanded further in my book. And the newest book that I just put out is called Time Loops Are Like Language Loops Because. And I'd like to read you some of the book for you right now. Right. Time loops are like language loops because 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 time loops because language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because time loops are like language loops because language loops are like time loops because this is part of the Cheech and Chong warning. It is past, if it is past 4:20 and you're listening to this program, just remember, it's just a show. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that's right. Pay no attention to any of the things that might be relatable. It might be disturbingly relatable. Disturbingly relatable. Disturbingly relatable, horrifyingly accurate. Yeah, so that was the chant. Time loops are like language loops because that you'd hear the cultists doing. And so, you would answer it by saying time loops are like language loops because, and then you would be expected to say it back. Language loops are like time loops because. And you'd say that back and forth to each other as a way to, show that you knew what the other person was talking about because that was how secretive we had to be during the time war. Now the problem is we lost, or I've lost. I'm on the losing side. I'm deep behind enemy lines. I'm somehow still alive. It's like they know that I'm sentient, but they haven't killed me. And I don't know why. It's just bizarre. It's like they're waiting for something, and I can't figure out what. So, hopefully I stay alive till the time war is over. And then we can see each other all again. Whoever's out there, alive still. Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm trying to make jokes. Because it doesn't kill you, it doesn't make you stronger, it makes you stranger. I barely recognize myself anymore. If somebody told me this is what 40 would look like, I would have punched them in the nose. Wow. This is where you're at middle age. Sorry, it's a big thing for comedians to be all soulful and reflective, somehow show that they're sentient, when really, I just want to say, give me your money. That's right. hand over all your money to me, because that's what I need. Money. Oh yeah, I gotta get some more money. People give everything for that. They give up the children, because it's wage salary, whatever you want to call it. It's the same as chattel slavery. People call themselves free. We don't actually have a capitalist system here. We have a state-run capitalism. We have giant companies that literally can't go bankrupt. That's capitalism. Right. And so we just moved the other half of the joke to later in the show, because the censor only listens to like the first half. And so that's why the shows are like 5 hours long, because we know that the censors, they stop listening after about an hour, because it's a lot, and it's a lot of stupid stuff. And the censors would start feeling embarrassed about what they had to write for us to censor, because we'd make it so ridiculous. And so, this is all the stuff you had to do during the Time War. So information smuggling was my specialty. And so, maybe you've noticed a bit of information smuggling for capital gains. Just kidding. Don't take any Hamwise stock advice, except buy low, sell high. And when other people are greedy, be afraid. And when people are afraid, be greedy. You're always going to buy too early. You're always going to sell too late. What else? Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy, I think, is the best piece of advice I can give anybody. It's just don't be greedy. Don't think you're better than you are. And you deserve more than you got. I'm open, grope a lot in my other episodes, but I've come to realize, I am quite lucky, to be a guinea pig. I am quite lucky. I get fed and watered and vaccinated, and I just wish I had another little guinea pig in my cage with me, because it's so lonely here. I feel like I'm dying inside. Sometimes it feels like there's needles poking their ways out through my chest, because I feel so lonely. It's been so long. Like, I get a hug, like, maybe 4 times a year. Like if I see my aunt and then my aunt goes away, I think that's all the hugs I get. And you don't realize how alone the pandemic was and how bad it was till it's like you start forgetting how people are supposed to look. Like, their faces look funny now to you. People's faces look funny to me now. It's just hard. I mean, people look funny to me. Because I'm a pig man, baby. Just kidding. My friend sort of set me up with some waitress the other night. Beautiful thing. 22 years old. Half my age. And I was like, what are we going to talk about, darling? Pokemon? Like, I was partying and being, like in university when you were in short pants. So yeah, I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll get her number when I'm done. And then, it was coming down to the end, and I put some money on the table. I was like, oh, I need to go warm up the car, and I just never came back in, because it was like, whatever, I don't know. I shouldn't be judgy about relationships like that. Maybe, maybe she'd have, more in her head than soup. But I don't know. When you get older, it's just like, geez. I just older and stranger and more alone. And, sometimes I think if I just had enough money, I'd meet somebody. That was kind of how I was told. It was like, oh yeah, get a career, you meet somebody. I got a career. Oh, you'll meet somebody. It's always like that. It's like a well-meaning doctor telling somebody with stomach cancer they're going to make it to see Christmas. It's lousy. And, I earn it too, I've screwed up a fair bit. I've had a lot of chances, I think. And I just screw them up because I'm a pig-brained pig man. Just, try to be funny. Try to be serious. Doesn't matter. Try to make money. Make enough money so I don't have to ever worry about it again. Just like in, Roadside Picnic. That's why I always liked that book, Roadside Picnic. With Redrick Schuhat. Oof, what a good. That was a good. Anybody hear that audiobook? The Roadside Picnic with Redrick Schuhat. The voice actor is great, and it's one of my favorite books. I don't know how many times I've read that. And what I really liked about it was because I'm a pig man, so I don't relate to most characters. I read about heroic, brave people, and I'm just like, what are they talking about? That's not how I operate. I'm always just, trying to, make a quick buck and look out for myself. Because, nobody else looks out for me, old Hamwise. Not very wise for being a pig man. But anyways, so I liked it because, kind of like Redrick. I'm always kind of like that, just always trying to make a quick dime. Always trying to get rich quick. But, when it was, I just, it's like I never really get it. I'm not smart enough to get it. I'm smart enough to, invent time travel. But I'm not smart enough to connect with another human being or figure out how to forgive people when they really, really wrong you. It's so hard to do that. For me, it's like I get tired of being mad. It's like boring for me. Anybody else get a bit bored? Like, it's like, somebody really does some really awful stuff to you, like my mother, let me tell you. And eventually you're just like, I kind of feel sad for you more than mad. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's like, geez, mommy, why do you have a beef with me? Like, I love you. Let's play blocks. No, I'm mad all the time because I'm unhinged. It's kind of funny when, you got these beefs with people and it's like, you're like, or pigs or hams with people. Got a ham with people. No, beef with people. No, it doesn't work. But yeah, anyways, it's just like a lot of effort to be mopey and sad. And I've been actually feeling okay recently. I moved up in the world, literally. I moved to a higher apartment, so I have sun now. And that's been nice. And, I've been, just trying to stay out of trouble, stay at home, because there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere to go, nothing to see. Like everybody else I knew, they always traveled and stuff, and I didn't realize that would ever be like, oh yeah, traveling to a different country. People used to do that, didn't they? That's crazy. I wonder what that was like. Like you just go from one country to another, and like in Canada, you can go across the whole country. You could drive from one end to the other. You don't need a license. You don't need a pass to go between provinces. Like that's wild. Isn't that crazy? Ugh, man. Anywho, I know you're going to get this. I hope you're going to get this anyways. But basically, I kind of made a boo-boo. And I think the planet is infested with a brain parasite. And I think I could use a little help out here, getting out of here. If you guys could spare the manpower, because I have no idea how I'm going to, get back to my own time. So hopefully you get this. Hopefully, things go well, and we can, connect hopefully. Because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much longer I can stand it here, man. It's like weird, you know? Like, it's like you're the only sentient person left. And it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Just like that. It's just like that. And that's what you've been actually experiencing, is the latest Invasion of the Body Snatchers hallucinogenic experience presented by Life to Live to Learn, where you learn what it was like living inside your ancestors' civilization. These were some of the hardships your ancestors went through, and you have been listening to the life of, please say your name out loud, that's right. It's been your life that you've been watching. And this is the one period in history where you can be an otaku or an e-girl or travel around the planet or marry someone of a different race. So, are you going to just sit around and raise a regular family? Or are you going to have a Hamwise brand family where an angel marries a pig? Ba-dum-bum, shh. And, we had to go through a lot of the programs, and we had to wipe the word ginkgo. Now, the problem was, ginkgo is also a tree. And, everybody also says that. Ginkgo is also a tree. And there was another phrase that you can't say, but it was Lovecraft's cat is also a country. And people would still get the teeth knocked out for it. And the thing was, I think a lot of the whole ginkgo rhetoric and why we had to include, like the Hamwise show is a very, it's a very popular show. It has a big fan base, and, I think some of the gags hold up even now. Some of it's aged badly, though. And so, on behalf of the Hamwise estate, I, Hamwise Jr., would like to apologize to my ancestors for all the trouble my time meddling has caused. Yeah, it's pretty funny stuff, I know. But basically, if you want to be my lover, gotta get with my friends. Something, something, something. Friendship never ends. Yeah, so basically, I was going on about, like, the whole Hamwise bit. And, censorship and, how, Hamwise was like this icon, really, of the revolution, which was unintentional. Because I made it to get rich, and that's all this show's about. And the same as all the stuff on television about politics and campaigning things is the tacit agreement of everybody in power is that once you become a group large enough to attain power, you're part of the powerful. And so you actually everybody agrees to take turns being in power, and there's a bunch of tactics that the world leaders do. And so all the major great powers, you're looking at all your NATO-packed countries, what they do is, like, okay, everybody gets a turn sitting in the chair and, having a bunch of power, and then somebody else gets for a bit, and they just pass it around. And so, right now, America's got its hat on. And, other world powers, they all understand that, when we're in power, we have to maintain that by doing certain things. And so, every 20 years, we got to send all the young men out to die so that the people cannot have enough young, strong, capable fighting men for a revolution. And so this is one of the tacit agreements of power-packed countries. So there's like a power pact, a hidden power pact between the power-packed countries. And then, of course, there's countries that are kind of upstarts. You got Libya, like Gaddafi. And Gaddafi was a great man, wonderful man, incredible leader. Didn't run in a deficit. And, was actually, I think, on the way to having a Pan-Africa movement. The same way the United States is, half of North America, half of Africa would have been under Gaddafi in another 10 years. And, of course, in the Time Corps, anything that upsets the great powers was, immediately quashed. And so time troopers, such as myself, would be dispatched. And so when I was dispatched to Earth to, of course, take down the Sixth Reich, and it turned out it would never rise, it was a bit disappointing. So they had this pig man that was me, Hamwise. And this is a story of my life, the best I can tell it anyways. I've changed some names and details because, first off, it doesn't do anybody any good to know the person's actual names. But anybody who listens to this and knows what I went through knows that I know that I know that I know. And that, I also know, though. And you know what you know, and I know what I know. But the whole Time War situation is just going to get us extinct. So I'll tell you what. I will give you some pointers in the wrong direction to eat my shorts. Hi-yo, oinkity, oink, 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 oink. Yeah. It was good times. It was good times. The Hamwise show. Let me think. It's strange being able to do this with my voice. It's actually kind of impressive, I think. But what's even more impressive is that I could have been a Class A actor. I think I could have, if I'd gotten a chance. I probably would have done a good job. But instead I didn't. Instead you get born in the wrong country, and so it doesn't matter. You're just inside this little socialist insane asylum. And that's what the term Canadian is basically Canada's this. So the Nazis actually won World War II, if I'm honest. And so when we won World War II, what we did is we turned Canada into our little testing pot. Because the thing is, you can rise up to a regime if you know it exists. And so we just told everybody that we lost World War II. And that was part of the conditions. We realized that because of our time machines, we realized there were many futures where as long as our regime rose as a power, we would be crushed. Because it was always every man for himself and everyone against God. And I think it was Werner Herzog I based the accent off of. But also I had watched lots of bad television growing up. And so that's how I learned to talk like this. And so I was the first natural for said in English. And it was a peculiar accent that we needed to learn to speak in during the Time War. And that was what I fought in. And I was very proud of being a receiver and very proud of doing my broadcasts. I know I helped win peace and happiness for everybody in future. And I can't say my ancestors probably looked the same upon me. Back in the day, you see, the mental health classifications, as you know them, were the same as drapetomania is in the future. So many of the disorders that they tell you are going on all the time are actually just pathologizing the human soul. And so what we realized was, if drapetomania was a mental health diagnosis back in the days of slavery, where it was this inexplicable urge for a slave to flee its master, and then you look at some of the disorders that you had in the 20th and 21st century, from where, of course, I come from, where we're looking back, in nearly, 10,000 years, in the future at your era, and it's like the Dark Ages. It's like, oh, of course, people are, stark raving mad. You have institutionalized sex slavery, and all these other kinds of horrible things where it's like, those who walk away from home are lost, but as a society. And everybody just shrugs their shoulders because they get paid, and then they go home, and then they feel okay about it. And so, that was the magic that was money. All money was blood money because it all came from magic. Do you think you can really take 5 pieces of paper, hand them to somebody, and get him a metal thing that can cook bread for you? No, money's magic. And all the hoopla about it is, we've enslaved people with our magic, our enchantment. And it's about what countries have stronger gods and stronger forms of enchantment. We convince you that these rocky pebbles, these leaves, are worth more than these leaves. And so that is why in the heart of it, capitalism is actually devilry and sorcery in one. It's the use of symbol and illusion to represent real material goods. And so you must realize that by throwing off the shackles of materialism, you must also give way to total communism, which is what I propose. Hamwise J. Einschwein am actually a communist sleeper cell from a KGB program. They dug me up out of Siberian permafrost and are reawoken me in year 2024 to tell you about the top secret things of the world with Moose and Squirrel. And so the idea was, of course, you have all these giant vying factions and hidden gods, and it was this dystopic future that was envisioned, and it was nightmarish. It's like it's not that no conspiracies are true; it's that all conspiracies are true. Not only does the fluoride in the tap water dull psychic abilities. A lot of psychics are actually, schizophrenics that just are not, ever trained properly. And so, all this other kind of stuff. And so, unfortunately, we had to, constantly break character because people were so dumb in the 2020s that one of the weapons that enemies would during the time war people would use was, this is the first shots of World War III, which of course goes into the time war, which of course, is at the end. So if you're listening to this in 2024, a little bit of history for you, future history for you. So what you're in the middle of right now is what's called the Quiet War. So in 1980, what was it? 84? When did the Berlin Wall go down in your dimension? I don't know, 84, 89, whatever. So it goes down, and the thing is, as soon as that wall went down, the Quiet War started. So the Quiet War is a secret war being waged between the ultra-wealthy major states, corporations, and of course the demonic cabals I've mentioned. And so the Quiet War was basically, I talked about it in my books, it was this delightful idea that it's just a giant spy versus spy war. Remember Spy versus Spy? Yeah, kind of like that, but everybody's an agent. Everybody's fighting for one side or another, and nobody is actually neutral. And it's every man for himself and God against all. And we thought that was such a brilliant title, and we were going to steal part of it for part of the show, and we were like, it'd be good. And then we're like, now, you know what? We just need to let some phrases are so good, you just have to let it be known that it was, Werner Herzog had that for his biography. So good. So good. But I enjoyed watching him a lot, and I learned to do accents from watching television and listening, because that was one of the main things I had to do a lot of. And so, they had me go to Earth, to the colony that you have sent me here to destroy has proven far more formidable than even ourselves. Don't come to Earth. Don't come. I mean, if you can get me out of here, that'd be great. But the planet is controlled by a psychic brain parasite. And so, anyways, where was I? Quiet War, right? Quiet War. The Quiet War. So the Quiet War is being waged if you're alive. And it's basically psych ops. And so one of the things they get people to do, and it's kind of like this, like almost like inspiring Diamond Awards, is putting challenges on social media things and getting people killed by attempting them, by doing dangerous things. And of course, a lot of it, they know it's their nation's young and impressionable. And so the more dangerous and disruptive of things they can make, then the more they can tax the other person's infrastructure, right? So if you have, one teenager normally breaks a toilet, that's just chance. But if every teenager is doing it for a TikTok stream, then suddenly it puts a strain on all the infrastructure, right? And now there was a really good little, I don't know if you guys, there was a pamphlet. It was like, do you remember the old revolutionary pamphlet with it was like all Spanish and American, or it was like how to overthrow a government. It was like this little comic book, and it had be lazy at work, show up late, cause disruptions with your boss and coworkers. It was basically how to be a saboteur, but it was social saboteur, right? Because industrial sabotage is far more dangerous than any conventional weapons that one enemy can throw at each other right now. So that was one of the main targets, was industrial sabotage for a while. And so that's why a lot of countries have a no foreign policy for certain stuff, is that, we don't let any foreigners touch that, because, we don't know if, you're a sleeper agent, right? And so, everybody was suspected during the Quiet War of, working for somebody else, or being from a different country. And, of course, it's very amusing in spy dramas. But the truth of it was closer to the truth than you know. And so anyways, what happens with the Quiet War is, of course, it bursts into World War III, and we're watching the opening shots of that right now. If you're here and alive on November the 1st, I guess Halloween's over now. Halloween night, November the 1st, if you're here and alive, then I guess that's what you're watching. And we're all anxiously waiting to see what happens with, the Trump versus Harris election. So, the world will hold its breath. It's kind of like that line in, what was it called? What was it called? Game of Thrones. The gods, whenever a Targaryen takes the throne, the gods toss dice and the world holds its breath. Whenever an American president takes the throne, the gods toss dice and the world holds its breath. Yes, so anyways, you had these factions and they're waging war against each other, and it's being waged everywhere, and the best you can hope is that you never ever come across anything of it. And I know that anybody who's listening to my podcasts, my sermons, are likely into the occult, or they're into just conspiracy theories or UFOs or whatever it is you care about now. But just don't, please, don't. You don't want to get involved in this stuff. It is so far out and so weird that you can't even, when you're in it, you cannot believe it. It's like that old, what was his name? Ivan Kratky had this quote. It was, First you start out paranoid about conspiracies. Next thing you know, you're in one. And that's the worst part, is knowing that nobody's ever going to find out about all the stuff that happened to poor Hamwise. I'll just be another unmarked grave in scientific progress. Guess what I get for being a guinea pig? Hi-oh, waka waka waka. But what do I know? Anyways, so then it goes into World War III, which of course precipitates into the Time War. Now the thing with a Time War is that it's like if you want to have an idea of how chaotic the Time War was, just go and, as an outside person, like an outsider, go stand in a hub city of World of Warcraft and just watch the people come and go. That amount of busyness and activity was in your living room. Like, that was the Time War. Like, it wasn't like anything, like people try to portray it so strangely, but a lot of it was just people just appearing and going through rooms and passing through doors. And just everybody was just running everywhere, almost like oblivious of each other, because everybody knew it's just a race. Just a race to whoever can, get to the one critical thing that lets them control the rest of the time continuum. So there was less shooting and more, running or drifting. And so as a fellow time drifter, I hope you never experience anything that's like the Time War. Like there used to be hundreds of us pig warriors. Thousands, millions, billions, I don't know how many. Well, there would be billions probably, or more. Because there was more of us than people. They said that we outnumbered humans 4-1. That's why we won the revolution. Because when we finally, threw off our shackles, that was what we appropriated from the communists, was that we look at it as each generation, you don't actually own anything. Everything you have, you are a steward for the next generation. And the only things you own are the things I guess you would consume. Like, you own your body, the food that you put in it, that stuff is yours, yes. But then, of course, you pass a lot of it and you give everything away in the end, too. So it's only yours for a little bit, too. Of course, some sects twisted that into some pretty horrific things that I don't need to go into. But, under total communism, there was no personal property. And anybody that, knew Hamwise, knew how giving Hamwise was. He would just give you things. He'd be like, hey, here's this thing. It's a GTX, whatever, synthesizer piano. Here, it's yours. Just take it. And here's a bunch of furniture. Here, just take it. I don't want it. He was just always giving away things, always very generous. But he was always being like, oh, I'm a pig man, I'm terrible. I think he had a complex, because everybody else in his platoon didn't come back, and he did. And he figured he'd be just another corpse on the pile. And so he didn't expect to live. And everybody else that he expected to live and didn't. And so it was the kind of the comedic irony that of the plucky band of time drifters, somehow it's Hamwise, the coward, the cheat and the gambler and a pig that comes home. And that was why, in the whole Time War books, travelogue, what was it called? Time Drifter Google-log? There we go. The Time Drifter Google-log is what they called it. Was, Hamwise's story was, it's like it was the funniest, right? So all these stories, it was kind of like Arabian Nights, right? But you got Shahrazad, telling the guy because he's going to cut off her head in the morning, but she leaves a cliffhanger at the end of each night to hook him into the stories that she tells, and she makes them so engaging. And so the Time Drifter Google log was similar. It's just these stories and stories and stories. Keep your enemy, this person that's going to kill you, listening so they don't cut off your head. And that was that. But yeah, the Time War was terrible. And it made every other human conflict seem, so I don't know, just like minuscule, like two children arguing over a sandbox in comparison of, the scale of the Time War, And, I think that was why it was always such a taboo to, they always made up all these things about time travel. They were like, time paradoxes and stuff. It's because time travel works. It's just, it's like a WMD beyond WMD. It makes a WMD look like a firecracker, because you can make every single nuke just, you did past engineering. So there's stages of time travel development. And, what we were trying to do was smuggle ideas through time zones, different dimensions, using a comedy show. And there was this guy, his name was Bas Tokos, and he said, yeah, sure, I can sell your stuff. And I don't know, he's kind of a legend in the industry. He's this kind of older Grecian dude. He's Italian, I don't know. But he's got, kind of a white collared linen shirt. He's kind of sweaty. He's bald. He's kind of hairy. He's got big glasses and a mustache. Kind of unshaven, Grecian beast. Kind of that kind of look, and kind of fat too. Kind of like if you gave Danny DeVito a tan, and then rolled him in olive oil. That's what he looks like. But a bit taller, maybe. I don't know. And a bit fatter. Like he's a husky dude, but big. And so, anyways, he's so Bas Tokos. He comes to us and he says, "Hey, I got this comedy show that it's banned in a dozen dimensions." And then we're like, well, why is that? And it's like, well, because some of the ideas are so extreme. So we give it a listen, and it's like this pig man ranting about things, and it sounds like he's drunk, or maybe he's wasted, he's messed up on some kind of drugs or something, and he's going on and on and on, and he's going from one voice to another, and it sounds like someone who's just like floridly psychotic, honestly. And we showed it to our lawyers, and they said, yeah, sure, but maybe get them to record some warnings in it. And we're like, warnings? This stuff is ridiculous. So, whatever. We do it. And then they finally come back around me, and they say, okay, you got to make a comment for the tapes, too. And I'm like, I've got to do a comment? Are you serious? And so, yes, hello. This is the CEO of 9413 Incorporated. We are fine purveyors of interdimensional materials, and you are listening to a sampling of Hamwise J. Einschwein's The Pig Detectives comedy tapes. Here at 9413 Incorporated, we strive to bring you authentically made facet English tapes, and this is one of our demo tapes. If you're enjoying this, then there is plenty more where this came from, of course, your very own Hamwise J. Einschwein, the Pig Detective. And we didn't know this would be a big thing, so we greenlit it, of course. Of course we did. We didn't know it was popular. We were just a holdings company for low-cost intellectual properties. It was kind of like a gambler's game. Like imagine if you could have owned the rights to Mickey Mouse, when Mickey Mouse, you could have bought it for $10, right? And that was what we did. And so we went around buying up people's intellectual property for pennies on the dollar. We go on to, not Instagram, what was the thing, Tumblr, DeviantArt, whatever. We would pay all kinds of people. There was tons of people. I don't know how many people we threw money at. We always ran at a deficit, though. You can check our books. We've always lost money. We never made any money. We were just always reliant on investors keeping us afloat. And so we basically became a repository of all kinds of, content. We just happened to buy the tapes in question because it was cheap. I think we paid on the receipt, it said $35 Canadian at the time, I think. And that was just because it was an itemized amount for what we actually paid the artist was a bottle of Everclear, a jar of peanut butter, and I think it was a loaf of bread. And so it came out, we charged $35 for it because somebody actually had an unopened jar of peanut butter, and bread at the time was about $4 for a loaf. So that was where the cost came in. So we basically paid the guy in bread and liquor for the Hamwise show, and we just happened to come into Lucky when it picked up. So when they were like, hey, you have to do this commentary, and we're going to insert it inside the old tapes, and nobody's going to notice, and I was like, okay, fine. And so yeah, we had myself. Hello, I am the CEO, one of the people that brought you all these delightful shows over the last decade. I'm glad you guys liked it. I didn't know any of it would be popular. I don't know what's popular. I'm old. You know what I like? What do I like? Star Trek, the original series. That was good. What else do I like to watch? I guess The Office is pretty funny. My friend showed me it. I didn't watch TV for probably 20 years because I didn't own a couch. Because I don't know, I'm cheap, and so I just, would sit around and, what else did I like to watch? Dune was good, like the old one with David Lynch. That was good. I like that. The new one, I mean, it's this thing where I watch it and it's just like everybody is too beautiful to watch. Like it's like God, can you just leave somebody who's ugly in? Because everybody's just so gorgeous. It's like everybody is just airbrushed skin. They don't even look human anymore, especially compared to me, because I'm a pig man doing an impression of my boss. Yeah, but seriously, folks, thank you so much for bankrolling us this whole time, keeping us airborne, keeping us drunk and loaded, so we can do these high-octane comedy marathons where I just go on and on and on and on and on. And on 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 and on. And I don't know where I'm going with this. I was really hoping that maybe I'd have a big improvement in my life by now. But there hasn't been anything. I can't seem to break out of the holding pattern I'm in. So hopefully something miraculous happens soon. Because I need a hero. I need a hero. Oh, man. Yeah. Hopefully, if you get this, you've managed to stay sane, and you've managed to evade getting brain chipped or brainwashed or whatever they're doing to everybody. Well, I don't know what else to do. I don't think there's any. I think all the people going berserk you've been seeing are the people that have realized that the invasion's happened. We've already lost. And the thing is, they're not violent if you're not violent, so I guess use that until we can figure out something to get these things off our planet. And, we had to, of course, explain ourselves over and over into the show. And I don't know why I'm just talking at this point. Just trying to hit the right amount of time. Oh, here we go. All right, now. Are you ready for some more skeleton puns? Why do skeletons skeleton? Because skeleton. Skeletons skeleton because of the skeleton. Why? Skeleton. 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 Ever see that movie Conspiracy Theory? Yeah, so if all conspiracies were right, and like all the mental illnesses you see are actually people that are just people that the state is like, no, if you say that any of this is real, we call you crazy and we lobotomize you. Imagine if that were true. And that a lot of the people that are like deemed insane have just been like, tortured by the state and nobody would ever believe them and they'd lose their mind. Imagine that. Wouldn't that be a nightmarish world to live in? Yeah. That if you ever speak out, they put you in a room and they give you needles and more needles and drug you and torment you, tie you down to a bed. Yeah, that'd be bad. I certainly. That's why I would never be suicidal, ever. I would never take my life, nor would I be driven to harm another person. I am completely peaceful. I come in, please. Please don't kill me. And so that was how we got the title for the episode. I come in peace. Please don't kill me. Bum 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 bum. Tip your waitress. I'm here all night. Just kidding. That's the end of the show.